Did Giannis Antetokounmpo just let everyone know his final decision on whether or not he's going to request a trade from the Milwaukee Bucks? Plus, why the NBA trade season and transaction period is about to heat up. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. About 70% of you watching this are not subscribed. Fix that. Hit that subscribe button. All right, so Giannis Antetokounmpo told an outlet in Brazil, talking about the NBA Finals, said, "I'm rooting for good basketball. The finals are different. I hope to be back soon with the Bucks. I hope to be back in the finals soon with the Bucks." Now, reporting has been that Giannis is going to, sometime before the end of June here, right around draft time, which is coming up in just a couple of weeks, Giannis is going to let the Bucks know what his ultimate decision is. But this comment makes it sound like he plans to be back with the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, he could have just said he enjoys watching the NBA Finals. He didn't have to add the with the Bucks part. So I think that is noteworthy that he added with the Bucks and maybe tips his hand on what he's thinking in terms of staying or going from Milwaukee. Now, we've taken a lot of looks at Milwaukee's salary cap sheet. I don't see a very clear path to them contending next season, at least making significant improvements to their roster. That's going to be very, very difficult. So if Giannis is indeed going to stay with the Milwaukee Bucks, perhaps they are convincing him or have convinced him that they are going to take essentially a gap year. Still go out there, play hard, do everything you can to win games next season, but it's right after that, the next summer, when the Bucks will have cap room and more flexibility. Now, that doesn't mean they've got a lot of future draft capital or other assets to go trade for any kind of help for Giannis Antetokounmpo. A lot of that has already been extinguished in other trades, but after next season, ideally, you get Damian Lillard back, who unfortunately is dealing with a torn Achilles. Get him back. He'll be a big expiring contract as well. Even if you don't bring him back, maybe you could use him as a trade chip next summer. Again, not this summer, but next summer, he could be an interesting trade chip, or you just bank on his recovery process, get him back in the fold. Again, there'd be a lot of roster turnover at that point, and off you go. Already rumblings, that I talked about this yesterday, that Brook Lopez will not return to the Milwaukee Bucks. I think this Bucks side is going to look different next season. Whether or not Giannis requests a trade, they will look different, but I'm projecting there to be a bit of a gap year, and perhaps the Bucks have just sold Giannis on that. Look, let's have another season next year, and then we can really make some significant changes over the summer. And part of the Bucks pitch was, hey, Giannis, you don't want to leave the Eastern Conference. Look how wide open things are right now. Even if we're taking a gap year, you're so good, we could potentially still make a run in a much weaker Eastern Conference than what we've seen historically. So I think all of that is on the table with Giannis, with the Milwaukee Bucks. But this comment from Giannis sure makes it sound like he's not planning on leaving Milwaukee. Nothing official, but that's a great sign for Bucks fans right there. Now, for the NBA offseason as a whole, we've been calling this the summer of trades, and we haven't heard anything to suggest that that's not going to be the case. We're expecting a lot of activity. You've got a lot of teams in the West that are trying to keep up with the Joneses, keep up in what's going to be a very, very difficult playoff race. You're going to have as many as 14 teams of the 15 that come into the season next year expecting to make a playoff push in the Western Conference. Meanwhile, things not so crazy in the East, but you're going to have teams in the East that are going to say, hey, it's wide open. This is our chance. Let's go add pieces. When we talk about teams like the Orlando Magic, the Toronto Raptors, the Detroit Pistons, these are teams that can add players in an attempt to make a run in a much weaker, again, wide open Eastern Conference for next season. So there's a lot of motivation out there to buy. And according to Brian Windhorst, that is going to lead to activity very, very soon. My ears perked up at this one. Take a look. That was a great place to pause Stephen A. Smith. I didn't realize I did that. All right, let's take a look at what Brian Windhorst had to say here about the NBA offseason and why things are about to get crazy.
The offseason is going to happen faster than normal. The NBA offseason is going to happen faster than normal.
Okay.
She's working on patience with you, Stephen A. That's what she said with that.
I don't know what she's trying to say.
No, I wasn't talking about you, but when I did read the Mel Robbins book, Let Them, I did think of you.
Okay. I think the majority of the action in this offseason is going to occur around the draft. Typically, we get most of the action between June 30th and about July 3rd. I think this year, because it's not really a free agent year, it's going to, and there's going to be Molly, potentially there's going to be 3 or 4 picks in the lottery that might be available, might be movable. Teams moving out, teams moving up, teams moving back. And so that's going to be attached to bigger deals. So let's put it this way. Shams has cleared his calendar and he's preparing to work his hardest around the draft. And we are going to go right from the NBA finals into the free agent, or into the offseason headlong. You're going to get your action very soon. Trust me.
I love
the NBA.
Okay. So Wendy making a couple of points there. Number one is that he's expecting, right, this to be a very busy NBA offseason, but also that it's going to happen earlier than normal because there's not a lot out there in free agency this year. It's a really, really shallow free agent pool. So what Brian Windhorst is saying is, yeah, we're going to see a lot of activity, but we're going to see it happening around the draft, which means a week sooner than what it would normally be. Free agency kicks off, well, late June 30th, technically July 1st, right? The start of the new league calendar, the free agency period really kicks off. But the draft on June 25th, as well as the 26th for the second round, that's going to bring in a lot of activity. And he mentioned that there could be multiple draft picks in the lottery that are on the move. And so we take a look at the teams with lottery picks that we could project that they'd be looking to trade out of those selections. And I think it adds to the idea that you could have picks on the move and then teams using those picks to add to players, add to expiring contracts, add to whatever, and go out there and be buyers on the market. So looking at the draft lottery right now, of course, Dallas, we already know, number one, they're not moving that pick. They are taking Cooper Flagg. They've made it very plain to everybody. He's the only guy they're working out. We know what's happening there. San Antonio, probably going to take Dylan Harper, but if there's a deal out there, maybe they could be persuaded to move that pick. I tend to think they just hang on to it. But San Antonio, that's not the only pick they've got. Look, they have the 14th pick in the draft as well. Could they move that in a trade? Particularly, they've been connected to guys like Kevin Durant. Would the San Antonio Spurs be interested in giving up the number 2 pick for Kevin Durant? No, or at least they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be willing to give up that high of a draft pick for KD, but the 14th pick as part of a package for KD, absolutely. That would make a lot of sense. So that's a pick I look at right there that could be on the move. Houston with that 10th pick. They came up short in the playoffs this year, but they have something cooking. They've got something really going there. Could Houston get in on the Kevin Durant mix? Could they trade for someone else? Could they be in if Giannis does wind up requesting a trade? Could Houston be in the mix? And that 10th pick could very well be on the move from the Houston Rockets. That's the one that they got from the Phoenix Suns. They've got a lot of future Phoenix draft capital that they could stack together in a trade. And again, the 10th pick in this year's draft, realistically, is the 10 pick going to play this season for Houston? Probably not. Probably not. Look, Reed Shepherd was the 3rd pick last year, and he could barely get on the floor. They're going to try to use him more this coming season, but the number 3 pick from last year's draft couldn't get on the floor for Houston. So is it likely that whoever they pick at 10 is going to be part of their rotation, part of their plan? No, I think that's a pick that's highly likely to be on the move. We also look at teams like the Brooklyn Nets who have 4 first-round picks in this draft. Could they move some of them? Could they package some of them together and then move up? I think there's some teams where it would make sense for them to trade out of lottery picks. The Philadelphia 76ers, I wouldn't do it. I think they need all the young talent they can get because they may be forced to move into a post-Joel Embiid, post-Paul George period even sooner than they thought, even though those contracts are going to sit on their books for a long time. We'll see. Hopefully they find health in Philly. But if they do feel like we need to maximize our window right now and we're projecting health for Embiid and Paul George, which, wow, that would be a hell of a gamble, but maybe that 3rd pick could be on the move. Maybe they could trade down with that pick if they think, like a lot of draft prognosticators do, that the 3, 4, 5, 6, all roughly, maybe even 7, are a tier of players that are all about the same value. If that's the case, maybe Philly could find an opportunity to trade down there. And then I look at the Toronto Raptors, a team that we also know is going to be a buyer out there on the market. They've been linked already to Kevin Durant. They've been linked to Giannis Antetokounmpo. They're one of the teams in the East that sees the wide open path that the conference presents, and they would like to try to make a push and do something to go win right now. So there are teams that have plenty of motivation in the lottery to move those picks. So when Brian Windhorst says, yeah, not only is this going to be a very active offseason around the NBA, it's going to be an active offseason earlier than most years because it's not going to be around free agency. It's going to be around draft night trades. I tend to agree with them. And all of that is a roundabout way of saying, make sure you subscribe to the channel because it is going to be a very busy summer around the NBA. We're going to have a lot going on and it's going to be happening real soon. So hit that subscribe button. We'll keep you in the know. on all things going on around the league. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.